It felt really easy to feel down with all the loom and gloom, so me and my girlfriend decided to go to a place with lots of colors and lights and get in tune with our childhood spirit, which is indoor arcades. Just like how most games, we try to find the most optimal strategy to win. Can we do the same with our experience at an arcade? Let's talk about those strategies, so let's get to it. We need to know what type of player you are, and what expectation you're going into the arcade will determine your most optimal strategy. No matter if you're on a date and want to impress your significant other, you're there on your own to beat some high scores, or you're a dad with kids hoping to get a little bit of time to yourself because you can only lock yourself in a bathroom for so long before people start asking questions. Those types are the Ticketmaster, the person trying to get the most amount of tickets in order to get the greatest prize possible. There is the pro gamer, which is a person who's trying to get the highest scores possible in the most amount of games, in which winning is everything. Then there is the fun guy, in which your goal is to have the most amount of fun possible with the amount of tokens that you have. Not necessarily about winning or getting those prizes. There's definitely going to be some overlap between these three types of players, and some games will be able to satisfy each one of them, but not all games are created equally. So let's get into the strategy with each type of players, starting with the Ticketmaster. The goal to get the biggest prize possible. Your goal is to find the game that gives you the most amount of tickets for the least amount of tokens. We've all been there. We've looked at those stuffed trophies or Lego sets and try to do that mental math. Just try to figure out how much it would actually cost in real life money to get the amount of tokens and time to get that big prize. For me, it was always eyeing that darn Nintendo Switch. One day I'm gonna go back and win it. Most games are separated into two categories. There are your games of skill, in which your ability is the main factor of winning or losing. Then there are the luck games, in which the entire system is either rigged or the probability of you winning is definitely not in your favor. The most commonly known of those rigged games are those claw pickup games, in which the amount of strength that the claw uses is predetermined. That's why once in a while it'll have the strength of Superman, and then it'll have the same amount of strength equal to a wet noodle. Other examples of luck games are those coin pushing games or those carnival games. Other games that I found that have more to do with your skill, which you can win a jackpot more often, are games such as Pop-A-Lock, which is completely reliant on your reflexes, and Crossy Road, which is a game that you can also get on your phone, so theoretically you could also practice this one. The more you play these games, the benefit is the better your skill is going to get, which means the amount of tickets you get will get even higher. Playing the Pop-A-Lock game, it would take you almost a full day, but you could get a GoPro playing these games, which will cost you less than actually buying one. It's gonna take a lot of dedication and effort, but it is possible. There are some games in which multiple people will give you an advantage, such as those projectile throwing games. A lot of places like to limit the amount of balls you have, so you need to make sure that you have enough balls for the amount of players that you get. And sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll find one game that the amount of tickets that it gives you is ridiculous. There's one claw machine at the one that we had that had these rings that give you a certain amount of tickets, ranging from 50 to 100 each time. We were able to get at least one of these ticket rings every 2 tries. Sometimes we were able to pick up 2 at a time, and sometimes we were lucky to get on a winning streak. Doing some really quick math, if we spent 240 bucks, we could win 10,000 tickets, which is the biggest prize that you can buy. This cost was a lot less than I thought, and one day I'm gonna go back because they're definitely gonna change this if someone decides to put that amount of time and effort. If your goal is just to get the most amount of tickets, you're gonna have to stay at a single game for a long time, and that sucks a lot of fun out of it. Let's say your way to find fun is being number 1, being a high school junkie. Being a high score junkie. Then as the pro gamer, there are a couple things you want to look out for. The good news is that you have a lot more choice of games, because not all games give you tickets, but most of them will give you a score. And once you got the high score, you can move on to another game. But just like the Ticketmaster, your skill should be the only reason why on the leaderboard, the top place is ASS for the whole world to see. Classic. Your easiest bet would be to get there early, as some games reset their high score daily, so it's based on the day, not of all time. Most of the hidden games will allow you to do this, whether a punching game or a hammer game. The bad side is you won't be able to get your name up there. So your other best bet is if you're in any kind of good shape, any of those games that take physical abilities, you will have an advantage, as average person going to an arcade isn't necessarily extremely fit. On a single try, I was able to get 5th place on the high score of all time on this football tapping game, so my Dance Dance Revolution experience has finally come in handy. I knew it. Other games such as basketball won't give you a lot of tickets, but your skill is what determines how many points you get. If you play a little bit more and get a little bit more practice, your score will keep going up and you'll keep getting better and better. There are some ball throwing games, just like I mentioned in the Ticketmaster section, in which you can have multiple people playing the same time in order to get the best score possible. And if you have that cash money, there are some games that are these adventure fighting games such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and X-Men, in which you need to pay your way to get to the top. You have a certain amount of lives, and once you run out, you have to pay to keep going. This also happens to a lot of shooter games and those sit-down adventure games. Anything that has a story that you can play through, you're gonna have to pay your way to make it to the end. This is more like the old classic arcade games in which they suckered you in quarter after quarter after quarter. Your best chance at success is to practice a single game multiple times. Look for the most unused games, or spend a lot of money to continuously hone your craft. Maybe none of that sounds fun. Maybe all you wanted to have a good time because you're more than just a mushroom. You're a fun guy. All that waiting for a mushroom-based joke? Definitely worth it. You might be thinking to yourself that in order to have fun, you just need to let go and experience the arcade the way it was meant to, with that childhood wonder, going in, doing what your heart desires instead of quantifying it. There, you would be wrong, because you need to optimize your fun-having capabilities. Then what's the point? In order to increase your fun capacity, our goal is to have the highest conversion of cost over time on the games, which should correlate very closely to the cost over the amount of fun you're having on the game. The value of each token is quantifiable, meaning that if you have a limited amount of resources, you need to make sure that your resources are spent efficiently for the most fun possible. Your best bet is, before committing to any emotional dedication to a game, you want to sit back and observe, watch and collect data, and see how long people play each game. This will allow you to make sure that you know which games people spend the longest on. You can observe the facial expressions of the individuals on the arcade games themselves and make sure that that's the face expression you want as well. Maybe you want to skip all the data collection and you want to step right into the games and having that fun. Then a good bet is starting with racing games. The time spent on the game themselves average to about 2 minutes, which is a very high amount compared to other games. And if you get first place, they allow you to race again, which increases your time per cost value. Any games that have multiple rounds, such as dancing games or rhythm games, will allow you to play multiple times as long as you don't fail. To increase your cost per fun conversion, you are looking to play multiple games, thus increasing your brain receptors as multiple experiences excites the mind. Ironically, you're also trying to avoid luck-based games, as most of them only allow you one opportunity to succeed at that game, bringing your conversion down. Either way, there are multiple paths, and I'm sure you'll be able to have as much fun as possible. Everyone is different, and most of us are going to be a combination of these different kinds of experiences that we're looking for. It was really good for us to reconnect with that childhood side once in a while. You got to take care of yourself mentally, spiritually, not just physically. And if adventures is something that helps you with that, I have links down below to Airbnb and Groupon, which is what I use to find my adventures. But that is my strategy in order to optimize your arcade experience. Do you have any strategies and speedrun strats that you want to put down in the comments below to help your fellow adventurers? I would love to see them, and you can always hit me up on social media, and I will see you at the next adventure.